Hello and welcome to the first episode of Christian Issues. I'm Casey Chapman. Today we're going to be discussing the topic of prayer before public meetings. Since the founding of our country, both Congress and local government organizations have had a guest speaker or a pastor come in and pray before a meeting. Today, the historic practice of opening a public meeting with prayer is being threatened as the Supreme Court decides if these prayers violate separation of church and state. In order to determine if prayer before public meetings really is a violation of church and state, of separation of church and state, let's look at the history of the separation of church and state laws. The law of separation of church and state was created because the state was telling pastors and churches what they could preach and what they couldn't preach. Oftentimes, they wanted the church to preach in order to support the government leader or authority. This, however, created conflict, so the law of separating church and state was decided. So this law protects the church from the state, not the other way around. No part of this law prevents prayer in government activities or in school. What we are seeing by this court case is a persecution of Christians. One lady involved in this case and who is opposed to prayer before public meetings told ABC News that it is not prayer from other religions that she is opposed to, but it is prayer from Christians that she is opposed to. It is clear that this is another attack on Christian freedom and liberties in the United States. Even though I do not support many of President Obama's actions in office, the president in this case is fighting for the right for prayer before public meetings. Most likely prayer will still be allowed before public meetings, but until the Supreme Court rules, I ask you to be in prayer for the justices that have to make this decision. I also want to tell you why it is important that we do care about prayer before public meetings, even though many of us will not be in attendance at these meetings. You see, it is important to put God first in everything, including our government. This country was founded on Christian principles, and many of those principles have fallen and have been taken away, such as the Bible being taught in schools. We now have this false idea of evolution being taught in schools as opposed to the correct view, which is creationism. Once again, this is another attack at trying to hinder the outreach or to hinder the effect that Christians can have in this society. I urge you to pray for this decision, to pray for the justices who have to make this decision. This is something that shouldn't go unnoticed. I'm Casey Chapman, and this is Christian Issues.